What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckbein, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the roster is finalized. The practice squad is here. Changes were made that we expected to be made. Wide receivers signed elsewhere, everywhere but the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is one option remaining. We're going to dive into it, plus the moves that somewhat solidify what this team will look like in 2025, and an absolutely insane list that includes head coach Mike Tomlin that I don't want to tease too hard, because when we get to it, everyone will say the same thing. Dog. What? And we'll get to it later. My friend, it's a beautiful one here in the Berg. It's a good Friday. I'm excited for the AST happy hour later on today. Shout out to our members and super chatters who will be there with us. How you feeling, my friend?
Good, man. I'm feeling real strong. I'm feeling real refreshed. That's a
Yes,
word I
sir.
don't use to describe myself very often, is strong. I am a self-aware human, if not anything else. Very rarely is that adjective fitting one, but I'm feeling
Brother.
good. Even sitting in the chair today, feeling all right. And it's a beautiful day. Can't complain. Happy to be talking Steelers football with you as per usual, my man.
Yes, sir. Look it. Don't ever downplay yourself. All right. Everybody's got strength. Everybody's got strength. Everybody's got strength. No, I don't want to say everybody, because there's some people that probably don't. Jacob Punturi is one of them. Jacob Punturi is one of them. Don't stop. Jacob Punturi is one of them. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. The Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're going to start with the wide receiver position, have been searching everywhere. Okay, high, low, medium, doesn't matter. They have gone everywhere they possibly can. They've called teams. They've looked at free agents. They've pursued guys that they have lost to other teams in an effort to add somebody to their roster. Now, is it the most dedicated, hardcore search out there? No. The Pittsburgh Steelers have done what they can. They've done their due diligence, but at the same time have acknowledged, look, there's some guys that we could add, but it doesn't really make a difference if we add them or not. And why at that point would we add them? We wouldn't. We shouldn't. And I understand that one. But there have been some names out there that you go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers should pursue them. There's also been names out there that you've said, maybe that doesn't make sense, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are pursuing them. Those names, Trey Palmer at one point. You could go at Marquez Valdez-Scantling as of 24 hours ago that they missed to the San Francisco 49ers. And here they are. All the rosters, all 32 of them across the NFL, are decided and finalized for the time being. Guys were claimed off waivers. Practice squads were filled. The Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting there, and they have the same 5 guys that they had 24 hours ago when this whole thing started. And we have come and gone, and the Steelers are here with the group that they started with. And you are one of the only people in the world that, if you go back to May, said this is the group that they will end with. And here we are. They have one name left that they could consider, unless they pull off a trade for Jacoby Meyer, or if they listen to me and go sign Deontay Johnson. But neither of those things are likely. And I will admit that I walked into the Steelers facility yesterday, and everyone, and I mean everyone, had an opinion on how my opinion on Deontay Johnson was wrong. But we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. The name that is still available for the Pittsburgh Steelers is former New England Patriots wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, who, I will be very honest, right from the jump, does not stand out as a guy that I would feel good about joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. He does make some sense. He fits the mold of what they're looking for. He's a lesser Gabe Davis, Jacoby Myers. I don't even want to put him in the same classification as a DK Metcalf, but he's a big body guy who can spread the field. And while has not had a very impressive NFL career, has had a pretty long NFL career and can continue that now with the new team. Released from the Patriots yesterday after the 53-man roster was released. His teammate Javon Baker was released as well, which I think I feel less certain about, but I'll ask you the opinion on that one too. But you look at Kendrick Bourne, you look at maybe the final option on a ticking clock that is near zero for the Pittsburgh Steelers in their wide receiver position. What are your thoughts on the possibility that this is their final option and whether or not they should go get it?
I worked on a story about this exact topic, and it feels like they are truly scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
Yes.
And this is, Kendrick Bourne deserves some respect too. Over 100 career games in the NFL. He's had an 800-yard season, a few 400-yard seasons, a 500-yard season. Like, he has something to he has an NFL resume certainly under his belt. You don't want to knock him, but it seems like, if again, we've talked about this for weeks and months, it seems like if we are resorting to these players that are not quite difference makers, are not quite, not even Pro Bowlers, you can't even get to that level, or barely above average and good NFL receivers nowadays. If that's the options the Steelers are turning to, it just doesn't actually solve the need that is the wide receiver 2 position. Would it be a helpful addition at this point? Yeah, I mean, at this point, 53-man roster cut down is come and gone. This is what they have, and it is a very, very unimpressive 5 men in the wide receiving room right now. So would a Kendrick Bourne be a welcomed addition just in terms of productivity compared to the rest? Yeah, but the standard, the bar, the actual makeup of the room right now is unimpressive, unimposing, and they have a lot to prove on the field. So it would be a helpful addition, but I don't think it moves the needle at all when you are a team that is trying to compete in the AFC North, in the AFC, and maybe a Super Bowl. It just doesn't really add up for me. So no disrespect to Kendrick Bourne, the player, but I'm not really seeing him as a big difference maker. But he is truly, in my opinion, the last of the last options for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He is the last of the last options for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I agree with you. Like, you look at Kendrick Bourne, bad wide receiver? No, not at all. But the Steelers have already done this. We've been through these guys. We've been through the Van Jeffersons, the Allen Robinsons, the guys that are 30 years old, 30 plus years old, who can no longer separate and is just going to be a guy out there that, yeah, does he have a reliable set of hands? Sure. Does that mean anything when he can't get open? No. And we learned that last year with Van Jefferson. Like, Van Jefferson could catch anything you threw at him because he caught 730 balls every single day after practice. But at the same time, he could never get open, ever. Mm-hmm. And you weren't watching that wide receiver going, well, if you give him the football, he'll catch it. No, you were watching him going, Van Jefferson, there's no point in him being out there. There's no point in him being on the field. He's adding absolutely nothing to this offense. And I think Kendrick Bourne sits in that same boat. Is like, yeah, big body guy who could play the DK Metcalf role for a small portion of time on the field, and you could feel better than having to put Ben Skoranek or somebody out there. Sure. But at the same time, he has zero speed, which means he's not going to spread the field or create a vertical threat almost at all. And yeah, a bigger body with reliable hands, sure. But what is the difference between a bigger body and reliable hands and Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson, who aren't bigger but are open? I think a pretty significant teeter-totter into Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and what they can benefit or help benefit the Steelers with. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's where we're at. Jacoby Myers, in my eyes, is the last option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Call him, make it happen somehow, because it lines up and works out so perfectly for the Steelers. What are you giving up for Jacoby Myers? Very little. 4th, 5th round pick, maybe. You're feeling fine about it, and you're going to pay him. What are you paying him? $20 million. All right, that's scraps at this point in his NFL career. And at this point in the offseason, the Steelers could afford $20 million tomorrow. They wouldn't even bat an eye. And he's the perfect number 2 for what the Steelers are looking for. He's a guy who comes in here and doesn't take anything away from Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, or Scotty Miller, provides another body opposite of DK Metcalf that is exactly what you're looking for, has the ability to block, can catch for 1,000 yards, is great in the red zone, can spread the field, still has speed, and gets open. He makes too much sense. But I think anything lesser at this point, like just going to the season with what you have, but I'm a little nervous that going into the season with what they have is just flat out not good enough and leaves them in a place where we're going to find real fast that they're just not a reliable wide receiver core, and that they have a massive hole that they no longer have the ability to fill.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you say you're worried about this wide receiver group not being good enough. I think you give it too much credit. Like, there's just not, eh, there's just nothing within. You're talking about collectively 800 yards behind DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Across the careers of these players, like we're not talking about like four guys who have, maybe been there, done that, and are looking for the next opportunity. It's not like you can even, I'm not saying Robert Woods was a choice to keep on the active squad. I think him on the practice squad is quite helpful for right now. But like you could look at Robert Woods and be like, oh, Super Bowl winner, he's your number 5. That's something. Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson, as talented as they are, and as hopeful as I am that they can be difference makers, have not proven that on the football field at the NFL level consistently. They might immediately, and this might happen as soon as the regular season begins. But if you're telling me today, August 28th, before the season actually takes place, is this good enough? No, not at all. And I think if you are saying that, or you're trying to buy into that, you are buying it on the ground floor of an investment that you do not feel has a strong ROI, if you know what I mean. Like you're just like,
Yes.
I'm really hoping this turns out okay. And I'm not really sure I trust the opinions of someone who has the opposite belief wholeheartedly. I get optimism, but I also am not a fan of just like unwavering optimism, or
No.
blind optimism or something like that. So yeah, it's not good enough right now. It needs to be better still, but open to being proven wrong. I think that's
Yeah, for
also a
sure.
key here. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Open to being proven wrong. Do I expect to be proven wrong? No, but we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
Again, and you could go back, and I don't think it's the George Pickens who made a mistake here. I think it's simply you just, there were so many smaller options, and they just refused to pick up on those options. You know what I mean? It was just
Mhm.
like, nah, we're good there. We're good here. We're good here. And I was the guy who pushed, don't sign anybody until August. Well, August rolled around and I was wrong because nobody was here. Nobody was available. And
Mhm.
the Steelers
Mhm.
have missed. Again, you pull off Jacoby Myers, which rumor has it the Steelers have called, huge, and this whole thing's over. You don't. I think week 1, we are going to find out just how good the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the receiving game, just how good the offense is. And if, our expectations are going to change drastically one way or the other. And we're going to find out when they get to MetLife. Let's talk about the addition to the team. The team officially put Will Howard on injured reserve along with Dante Kent. They brought back Chuck Clark, a move that stunned us yesterday. No longer stuns us now. This is what we expected to happen, but you could see it. And until it was official, you were just kind of like, the door's open, but what's going to happen? You have no idea. They claimed nobody on waivers. Chuck Clark comes back. We'll have the conversation reiterated here. You good? Is the defense back to what you expected it to be? Because again, yesterday I was like, what the hell is going on? How did we get here? Why did you keep 15 defensive tackles and two safeties? The addition to Chuck Clark, does it remove that worry that I think we had 24 hours ago?
It certainly does, and it is so strange to put it in context. And I know we talked about this, as the rosters were coming out, and things like that. Like the initial shock of it, the initial wave of the rosters coming out and who was on it and who was left off of it, felt just like dizzying, and it felt so crazy that they could have made some of these decisions. But then you think about it a little more and you're like, all right, they're not going to actually have 3 safeties when they start the regular season. They will have a full secondary. It
Yeah.
makes sense. Chuck Clark is going to come back. How are they going to do it? I don't know. But him being back is huge. I mean, he started, still a couple years removed from a torn ACL, but he played
Yeah.
in 12 games last year when he was healthy. Before that, he was, I think it was 70 tackles at least per season, between like 20, for 4 years as a starter with the Baltimore Ravens. So, the guy has some good seasons under his belt. He has a lot of productivity to his name. And I think just being able to have that consistency and that reliability as a depth option erases a ton of concerns. Because I mean, let's be honest, let's be pessimistically honest, the secondary, if Juan Thornhill struggles or if there's any sort of injury concerns for him or
Yeah.
Deshaun Elliott, we are suddenly talking about how safety is, once again a huge position of need, like it was right after the trade that sent Minka Fitzpatrick to the Miami Dolphins. So there's having Chuck Clark there does feel like a safety blanket of some sorts as far as depth and backups. So yeah, I feel a lot better, 24, 48 hours removed from the 53-man rosters coming out and seeing a little bit more of how this team is taking shape.
Yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts on Beanie ending up on the practice squad? Do you feel, because I think it goes one of two ways. Like, you had a guy who was a starter a year ago, who's a big fan favorite, who maybe
Mhm.
is here to obviously provide a security blanket, and be that guy. But you also have Dante Kent, who you kept on the roster because you felt okay with. And if you need him within those 4 weeks, okay, I understand. I expect Dante Kent to play the entire season on IR. I expect Dante Kent and Will Howard to spend the whole year on IR. The only reason I say that is not because they're not good enough to play, but because you only get 8 guys to remove from the IR. I think people have to take that into the equation here, is that you only get 8 of those guys. Corey Trice automatically counts for 1, which is why you
Mhm.
didn't put either of these guys on the IR, on the short-term IR before the season, because Corey Trice, whether he comes back or not, counts as one of those 8. You only have 7 left. You're not going to waste it on a 4th-string quarterback or a 3rd-string quarterback. Doesn't matter what you see him as. And unless you really need it, you're not going to waste it on your last draft pick and a guy who is last on the depth chart at corner. Beanie's here, fan favorite guy who started some games, but also, the demotion of the practice squad. I just am kind of curious how you view that situation. Is it a positive? Is it a negative? Is it a worrisome situation? Or is it one that you kind of are optimistic in, that can be the security blanket that the Steelers want in a positive way?
No, I think it's a positive thing for the Steelers overall. I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt them. I think it will only help
Yeah.
them to have players who have NFL experience at the ready. Should
Yes.
injuries happen in the secondary, should something set back Corey Trice's rehab so he can't come back. Like, now you have someone who started games on your defense last year on the practice squad. So I think it's a positive thing for the Steelers. It doesn't really concern me. I think Beanie Bishop certainly understands, he's 1 year removed from entering the league undrafted and having to prove his worth and prove his role and earn it.
Yeah.
He's going to have to do it again. He's not it has not been the rags to riches to rags story for him quite
Yes.
yet. 1 year of success, I don't think will totally change the scope of things for Beanie Bishop. So I think he's gonna having him there is a great thing. He can keep working hard as he did last year. And if an opportunity comes up, I wouldn't be shocked to see him back on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense in 2025. I just don't think there's going to be that space for him unless injuries occur. But yeah, I think a lot of the picnic pack is going to be happy that this. You're right that he is a fan favorite. I think a lot of
Yeah.
Steelers fans are just happy that he is going to be around. The last thought I have on this is it kind of like it's a nice reminder every
Yeah.
year how many training camp darlings there are around
Oh,
the NFL. And you've said it before, I've said it before. There's every single team thinks, guys like Beanie Bishop has players like Beanie Bishop where they think they are just absolute studs, diamonds in the rough, can't miss
yep.
players, but for one reason or another, 31 other teams with hundreds of employees and staff members missed or chose not to see. So, like,
Yep.
it's a nice reminder that a lot of these players are great, and the difference between being great and truly dominating, excelling at the NFL level is that drastic. And so
Yep.
it's a nice reminder of all that.
I agree. Is there anybody on the practice squad that surprised you that made their way onto the practice squad? Whether it was you thought they were going to get picked up on waivers elsewhere, or the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers did not go outside of their practice squad or their 90-man roster at all to add to their practice squad.
I think that was the most surprising part was that they did not go outside of the organization to get those first, was it 15 or 16 players on the practice squad? That was incredibly surprising to me. You look at some players. I know you and I had talked about Jordan Clark, the son of Ryan Clark, being like a potential option because he's in his first year after getting cut by the New York Jets. There are lots of players, and the Steelers have in the NFL. They tend to go all around the league to fill out their practice squad. So I found that to be the most surprising part of that. But aside from that, I think Robert Woods, just being a veteran,
Yes.
I imagine he's going to be on another NFL team at some point this year. As a reminder, any of these practice squad players can sign onto an active roster at any point around the NFL. So like Robert Woods, Super Bowl winner,
Yep.
has good hands. He has experience around the league on both conferences. Wouldn't be surprised if some team who's, receiver needy signs him midseason or something like that. But
I
I
agree.
think you nailed it. It's the fact that they stayed completely within those 90 or so folks that they brought to training camp. That's who comprises the practice squad after all. That's a shock to me.
I agree. Robert Woods is the guy that I was like, what? How does that? This is a 12-year NFL vet. This is a Super Bowl champion. This guy's got 8,000 receiving yards. Like he's an NFL player. Like this guy's he's not a practice squad player. The demotion is crazy. I mean, the humbleness to be able to say I'm going to play on a practice squad is crazy. I respect it. I do not expect him to be here very long. I expect Robert Woods to be gone like that. Like within, I wouldn't be shocked if it's by the season. I also could look at it and say the Steelers are keeping him till week 2 when that vetted money is gone and there's nothing guaranteed anymore. And he could come on to that 53-man roster. And, he's made plenty of money in his career and they're going to work the system because they love working the system. And that's the way they're going to go about it. I could see that as well. But that one shocked me. Staying within your 90-man shocked me as well. Look at the Steelers. They know what they're doing. And Mike Tomlin has a simple explanation. They were close calls. Okay, well, we'll see how close they are when these guys got to step up in some big ways if they have to during the season. Let's stick with Mike T here. I have an absolutely wild list that Mike T does not headline, but certainly sits on. And the fact that he sits on it at all is absolutely insane. Every year we talk about this stuff. Every year you have to shut it down and say, this is just dumb. This is why are we doing this? Why is this here? It's a joy to talk about because once in a while I do love to sit around and say, look at guys, as much as everyone may or may not hate Mike Tomlin during points of the season, I'm not saying I do. Look at Mike Tomlin and me. We got good conversations. We eat some good food during training camp. Mike T's the man. Okay. And when it comes to the rest of everybody else, they don't always feel the same way. And some people want him gone. Some people believe he should be gone. But I don't think anybody in the world outside of, I'm actually on the wrong thing here, outside of good old Jamie Eisner believes that Mike Tomlin is going to be gone. In the odds to be the first NFL coach fired this season, he sits behind Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable, Shane Steichen, Kevin Stefanski, Dave Canales, Jonathan Gannon, Zach Taylor, Brian Callahan, Raheem Morris, Todd Bowles, and then good old Mike T before Kyle Shanahan. This is not all 32 coaches. These are just the ones that are expected to be fired. Every year, it's the most ridiculous list in the world, no matter what his odds are. It could be 100-1. It is still ridiculous odds. I mean, I don't have a question. I don't have does this fit? Is this fitting? Do you think that this is real? No, I'm not. I'm not going to play that game. I'm going to give you the floor and say, this is ridiculous. You could say whatever you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, here's where I'll start. Here's my thesis.
Also,
statement.
Hold up. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to blast Jamie. I just realized he's COO of the Draft Network. He is not the guy who came up with this. It's Sports Betting AG. All right. I apologize. Keep going.
No. Very, because this could have gotten personal real quick.
It was. I was ready.
Because I was going to threaten Jamie. So now I won't.
I already did in my head.
Okay, good. No, yeah, great. This is my second season covering the team.
Okay.
What I have learned concretely, without a doubt, can tell you, so much I cannot say with certainty in this life. What I can tell you is that Mike Tomlin has a job with the Pittsburgh Steelers for basically as long as he wants.
Yes.
Barring something unbelievably drastic happening behind the scenes that we don't know about, or the worst performance of a football team to ever happen on a football field. And that you might be saying, Jacob, that is like that's hyperbolic. No, it's not. That like this man is entrenched in his position.
Yep.
It is rare in any business sport for this to be the case, but that man has got an iron grip on his job, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
That is the case.
Yep.
And I just think it is laughable. I think it
Yep.
is giggleable. And it tickles me to have anyone even suggest. And like, look, you and I talked about over the summer that like the way that the Steelers were trending, if this goes abysmal, if this blows up
Yeah.
in everybody's faces, like this reflects poorly on Mike Tomlin. What does that mean? Like those conversations are fine. He's not getting fired during the
No.
season. There is,
No.
it's just not going to happen. 28-1, whatever to one, whatever you want to call it. Like it just won't happen. If you put money on it, you're losing that money. It's going to the, if you're betting it on the ponies, it's going to the farm. It's gone.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
gone. The top of that list, great. I think Mike McDaniel and Brian Dable are two likely candidates to be fired midseason.
Yes.
Mike Tomlin, I think you got to check the odds on hell freezing over first. You know what I mean? That just seems crazy.
That's it. That's it. Is the hell what like the crazy things that would have to happen before Mike Tomlin is fired during the season. And also think about during the season, okay? Let's break that down for what it really is. What it really is, okay, is Mike T having a losing season for the first time in his NFL career.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Pittsburgh Steelers being so bad that it is unsavable, because you want to know who is the best. Oh, I'm going to save this season, no matter how bad we are, no matter who our quarterback is, no matter how much everybody's blown up in our faces, quarterback or coach in the NFL, it is Mike Tomlin. That's what it is. There is no man in the NFL that if the Pittsburgh Steelers were 3-7, you would sit down and go, there's still a chance they finish with 10 wins this season or 9 wins this season. There's still that chance. There's always that chance. During the season, it would be, you'd have to start out 0-16. Art Rooney would have to give up the team right before week 17, and whoever claimed it, whatever son of his claimed it, has to be so Woody Johnson's son type mad to make the decision to say we're firing Mike Tomlin right now.
Yeah.
That's what would have to happen.
Right.
There's no logical situation in the NFL where the Pittsburgh Steelers move on from Mike Tomlin, because the guy doesn't let seasons disappear. He's never Ben Roethlisberger's elbow blew out in week 4, people. In week 4. You want to know what happened in week 5? Minka Fitzpatrick showed up and they win 8-8. That's what happened, because the Steelers and Mike Tomlin believed that with Minka and a dominant defense, they can make the playoffs. And if they beat the Buffalo Bills, they make the playoffs. That's nuts. That's nuts. That's what Mike Tomlin does. And it would have to be so, it'd have to be so astronomically bad. No, it's not a real situation. It is not. There's no universe where that's real.
It's nothing like, and this is again, I'm like the only possible scenario that comes up in my mind that is realistic is if like something ridiculous, again, like something like Mike Tomlin actually turned out to be running the Illuminati and it became public.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
even that like helps it. You know what I mean? Like he'd have to be.
You'd be like, oh, maybe he's not actually, because could they fire him? But no, it would have to be something where it's like, this is like a fireable offense that has nothing to do with the football field, right?
Yes.
Like, and then that's as far as the conjecture I even want to go down, because it's just not something that's even worth entertaining, because Mike Tomlin, it's not going to happen. But what it would have to be, something like that along those lines, for it to even be considered, for us to even enter the arena of a mid-season firing of Mike Tomlin.
Dude, it would have to be
coach until he's dead.
Until he's dead. It can't even be like fireable. He can literally kick Art Rooney in the gut. Okay. He could he could walk into work and drop kick him in the middle of the locker room. And I bet you he's got a job. I bet you he's still got it, because at the end of the day, he'd be able to talk his way out of it and say, look, it had to be done for the betterment of the team. This is what happened. And you'd believe him. You'd be sitting there going, yeah, he's probably right. You know what I mean? He's probably I know, dude. I know it'll stop hurting in a while, but he's probably right. That's what would happen. It would never, there's no circumstance. I'm sorry, Jamie, I didn't mean to bring you into this. Okay. You just put the tweet out there, and in the tweet, there was a ridiculous statement. And that statement was that Mike Tomlin has any odds at all to be fired during the season, let alone the first one. Like, are you kidding me? The first one? Are you serious? Mike McDaniel could start 0-4 and lose his job. Like, are you the first one? There are 32 coaches in the NFL. You're telling me that the Steelers are going to be the one that's jumped the gun? Because they've ever done that in their entire life. It took them 3.5 years of Matt Canada to say we should probably get rid of him after week 9. Week 9, okay? They went week 9 to finally admit, okay, he's probably bad enough. We should probably fire him. Come on. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm fired up now. It's
oh my God.
Fired up. Fired up. All right. With that said, let's end it on that note. We're heading out of here. That's just look at this. That's how you gotta get the day started, is just juices. Everybody go to the gym right now. You know what I mean? Everybody right now, blood pressure's at 180 over 165. You are on the verge of heart palpitations. Get to the gym. You know what I mean? Get to the gym. That's all you gotta do. As we started the show with strong, we'll end it with strong. There it is. There it is. We're heading out of here, guys. Thank you guys so much. You like that one, huh? That was a good one. That was a good way to end. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Make sure that you're tuning in to tonight's AST Happy Hour. We'll be answering all of your questions. If you got them, bring them. We're excited for it. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.